War. It's one of the most constant things throughout human history. Films depicting war are some of the most popular ever made. Most are cliche, watered-down movies made to make a quick buck. Yet some are propaganda pieces made to further a narrative that favors the culture in which they were created. The best war movies show the horrors of war and how pointless conflict can be. In these great pieces of art, the reasoning and purpose of conflict is often questioned and criticized. The main purpose of this video essay is to examine Soviet war films, their ability to critique their government, and to answer three critical questions. How was war and the government's role in it portrayed in Soviet films? How does this portrayal differ from movies made in other countries? And did that portrayal change over time? To answer these questions, we'll be looking at three separate films. A Russian war film, Chapayev. A Belarusian war film, Come and See. And a personal favorite of mine, Full Metal Jacket. First, let's analyze Chapayev. It was released in 1934 and was directed by Georgy and Sergei Vasilyev. The movie follows Chapayev, a commander in the Red Army. In this film, Chapayev is a war hero. He fights for the Red Army and is a socialist man. A commissar named Furmanov is assigned to his unit, and in every interaction between these two characters, Furmanov is shown to be smarter and better than Chapayev. A perfect example of this relationship can be seen in the scene where Chapayev's men were terrorizing the village they were staying in, and the villagers come to Chapayev to tell him thank you for making his men return the goods they stole.
Спасибо тебе, Василий Иванович. Отдали твои ребята барахлишко-то. Все как есть вернули.
The shock is visible on Chapayev's face as he has no idea what this villager is talking about. In that scene, the camera cuts back and forth from Chapayev to Furmanov, and the whole time Furmanov is grinning. Furmanov was able to resolve the situation without the war hero Chapayev's blessing or help. As a representation of the Soviet state, he can do no wrong. This depiction of the state changes over time, but for now, let's examine one of the best American war films of all time, Full Metal Jacket. This movie was directed by Stanley Kubrick, released in 1987, and is set during the Vietnam War. It follows Marine journalist J.T. Joker Davis as he navigates Marine Corps boot camp and the front lines of this horrendous war. Now, anyone who knows U.S. history knows that Vietnam was one of the most brutal and ultimately pointless wars that America has ever been involved in. Millions of people died in what most historians would agree was an avoidable conflict. There are a few key scenes that show how harsh this war was and how Americans and America itself were the invaders and how many would consider them the bad guys. One such scene is when Joker and his buddy Rafterman are on a helicopter flying through the Vietnamese countryside.
I've done got me 157 dead goops killed, and 50 water buffaloes too. Them are all certified. Any women or children? Sometimes. How can you shoot women and children? Easy. You just don't lead them so much.
I remember watching this scene as a child and questioning everything I had ever been taught about U.S. history. Although it's a work of fiction, it's an accurate representation of the numerous atrocities committed by American soldiers in Vietnam. One need only look at the My Lai massacre, where hundreds of Vietnamese civilians were slaughtered by U.S. soldiers, and only one soldier, Lieutenant William Calley, was convicted of the crime and only served 3.5 years in prison. The portrayal of the United States in this movie allowed citizens of the nation to question their own country. How can a nation that believes in freedom and justice allow its own soldiers to perpetrate such horrible crimes? For our final film, we'll be taking a look at one of the best war films of all time, Come and See. It was made in Bulgaria during the 1970s and 80s, and was eventually released in 1985. The movie was so shocking that its release was delayed for several years due to Soviet censors. It follows the story of a child named Froya, who lives in Belarus during the Second World War. Against the wishes of his mother, he joins a local group of partisans who fight back against the Nazi occupiers, but he is quickly shown the horrors of war. Froya ages decades in what is seemingly a short period of time. He's forced to watch entire villages burn to the ground as Nazis brutalize his fellow Belarusians. Time and time again, Froya is witness to and a victim of Nazi war crimes. Towards the end of the film, a group of Nazi soldiers are captured and executed by Soviet partisans, and even in defeat, some remain defiant.
Minderwertige Rassen sind es nämlich. den Bacillus des Kommunismus gebären.
Низшие расы плодят заразу коммунизма.
Ihr dürft nicht bestehen.
Вас не должно быть.
Und die Mission wird erfüllt.
И миссия будет исполнена.
Heute oder morgen.
Сегодня или завтра.
Heute oder morgen.
The film displays these Nazis as evil savages, which they were, but it also shows the absolute devastation that war can bring. This is in stark contrast to Soviet films that came before, where early Soviet films like Chapayev depict war as just soldiers fighting one another. Come and See offers a look into the savagery and horrors that conflict can create. And although the role of the Soviet state is not directly criticized in Come and See, like it is in Full Metal Jacket, it is shown by the USSR's inability to protect its most important asset during the Second World War, its own citizens.